right, so girls, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Hashtag, the theme of today, drop the D's. We're going to talk about what that means. All right. The first thing we're going to focus on in this presentation is the fundamentals of recruiting. So the really good thing, girls, about what's happening is you are not in your recruiting process yet. You guys can just hang out and sit back and enjoy being freshmen in high school, deal with awkward boys trying to learn how to talk to you for the first time and sound really stupid. You can just deal with having fun with your friends, right? Chill, eat some yogurt on the counter, do whatever you want to do. Okay, cool. So that's the good thing. Now, you also want to be prepared though, because in the next couple years, all right, you're going to start going through what's called the recruiting process. You want to be prepared. So a few fundamentals that we like to talk about, as you can see, the first bullet here is why college? So that's a question that everyone has to ask themselves. Like, why are you going to school? Are you going to school just because a coach recruits you? Are you going to college because your mom said or your dad said you got to go to a school that's down the road? Are you going to college because there's a really good football team and you like to go hang out and go to a tailgate and watch football? Now, those are things that you have to ask yourself. But as you get older and as you mature and as you start to develop interests and start to maybe think about a career one day or whatever it is that you might want to do, depending on what college you select could really impact the trajectory of where you go in life. So you got to always take a step back for a second and understand like why you go to college. What's the purpose? What are you getting out of it? Okay. And as you start to answer the why, which is the most important question, it's important that you enjoy the process along the way, because if you're so caught up with making a decision on where you want to go to school, you're going to lose sight of all the great things that can happen between now and by the time you decide where you're going to school. A lot of girls that go through the process are so quick to commit, and they do that for a lot of reasons because they think that that's what they're supposed to do. They see other girls doing it. They might feel pressure, and the pressure can come from anywhere. So they make a decision, and instead they don't focus on enjoying a visit with their family, a conversation like we're having right now. There's a lot of things that are enjoyable along the way that you might lose sight of if you're really caught up with making a decision, which is only a part of it. It's not everything. All right, we got someone else coming in. Give me 1 second here. Who else is coming? All right, here's Bart. I don't know who Bart is. Who's Bart?
Probably Brooks' dad.
All right, Bart's in the house.
Bart Simpson.
Mr. Bart. Okay. Bart, this is a girls' hangout. You're not allowed in here. Get out of here. All right, so let's keep moving here. Number 3, as you can see here, girls, promote yourself. So what's going to happen? You're going to get to a point where you might think like in the recruiting process, it's a college coach's job to find you and it's your job just to play lacrosse. Well, a lot of times in the recruiting process, it doesn't work that way. The way that you need to portray yourself online, which we'll talk about by maybe using like a lacrosse recruiting profile. We use Sports Recruits, which everyone's going to get an account starting next year, can actually be one of the most important things that you can do along the way. And when you create that profile that accurately represents your personality, the type of player that you are, the grades that you have, etc., it gives you an opportunity to promote yourself consistently, frequently, whenever you want, to any college coach that you want, to any school. All right. So right now, girls, what's happening is the season's pretty much canceled. All right. So there's not any high school lacrosse going on. The college season's canceled. So the only way a college coach can recruit someone right now is through the internet. So if you think that you don't have to promote yourself online, then you're not going to really get any activity in terms of exposure from college coaches, relationships, talking to people, etc. So it's very important you understand the importance of using all the resources that we give you starting especially next year, because everyone's going to get that Sports Recruits profile to promote yourself. All right. And the last thing we talk about in terms of the fundamentals of recruiting is dropping the D's. All right. Who thinks they know what the D is in D's? You can shout out. What do you think? Take a guess. Drop the D's. What do you think that means? Nicole, what do you think? Take a guess.
Oh no.
All right. Well, in college lacrosse, there's blank 1, 2, or 3. What am I getting at?
Divisions.
All right. Good. Divisions. Okay. So a lot of times, really good lacrosse players like you, all who are on this call, they think they're supposed to play at Division 1 or whatever, or they're supposed to play at Division so and so. Don't get caught up in that, because what you're trying to do is find the best school for you. You're not trying to find a school that's Division 1, because that's where supposedly all the best lacrosse players go. There's a lot that goes into your decision of picking a school, and if you get caught up in division, you're going to get caught up most likely in the wrong things, and you might end up making a decision that you'll regret, which as a result, you might have to transfer. You might be really unhappy, which we would hate to see with your college process. So always drop the D's. That's the hashtag for the talk here. Okay. All right. So we got a little doggy with his tongue out. That's my happy doggy. Neri, I got a question for you. Why do we have a little happy doggy in the corner? What do you think?
Know.
Why? Well, I don't know. Like, how does that make you feel when you see a happy dog? Does it make you feel good?
Yeah.
All right. Do you like to be like happy also?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want you to be happy as well. That's very important to us. So the reason we have a happy dog is because we want you to be happy when you go to college. And if you're not happy, everything else becomes really difficult, right? So the social component, which is, again, it's not going out till 2 a.m. and hanging out with your friends. The social component is picking a school where you're happy within your environment. You like maybe the girls in the team. If you're playing lacrosse, you like your coaches, you like the kids on campus, the teachers, the school. Everything about it is a good social fit. And then if that all works for you, then you can start thinking about the other aspects of picking the right college, which is, okay, how much can I afford to go to college, which is the financial, or, can I get into this school? Is it too challenging academically? Is it not challenging enough? Does it have, can I also be on the marching band team and play a sport, or can I not? Does it have a specific major that I want to focus on if I want to be a doctor one day? All right, or a nurse, or does it not? So those are things you think about when you pick a school. And the last thing is the athletics. So the athletic component, girls, is going to be there if you want it to be there, but it's not the most important thing, and it doesn't drive your recruiting process, because if you only picked a school based on lacrosse and the other things don't kind of make sense for you. So for example, if let's say you want to go to the best possible lacrosse program that you can get into that recruits you, but you don't fit in with the girls in the team, it's halfway across the country, it's maybe more expensive than your parents really wanted to pay, right? If it's a school that's beneath you academically and you're not being challenged, then it's not really the right fit for you, all right? So the athletics is not the most important thing. It's just a part of the whole picture, all right? So at the end of the day, Neri, we want you to be what? A happy what? A happy doggy.
Doggy.
You don't have to stick your tongue out. Dogs stick their tongues out when they're happy. That's why I did that. Okay. Moving on. The process. All right. Now, the process is something that Coach Wink and I created based on all the girls that we've helped through their own recruiting process. And basically, even though everybody's recruiting process is different. So, for example, right, McDonald, you and Pota's recruiting process is going to be completely different, right? McDonald might get recruited by going to a prospect day and the coach falls in love with her and is like, this girl's awesome, I got to get her on my team. Pota might get recruited by playing for her FLG team and a coach comes up to her and, gets a chance to meet her and talk to her and really likes her, and it ends up working out in the long run. And the process is not just different in terms of how you decide what school you're going to go to. The process is also different for everyone because McDonald might like something different than Pota as it relates to picking a college. So because you have different interests, you end up picking different schools and you have a different journey. And even though everyone's going to have a different journey, girls, it's important to understand there are a lot of similarities that we notice, Coach Wink and I, when we evaluate all the girls that we've helped, and we've boiled those kind of similarities down to a couple things that if you all do these things and do them consistently, you're going to create more opportunities for yourself. And all we can ask, in this process is to have you create more opportunities for yourself. Because if you do that, it's more likely that you're going to end up picking the right fit for you, which is the ultimate goal. All right. Now, in our process, the first most important thing, especially as a freshman, is development. So that includes academic, mindfulness, improving how sharp you are mentally, how focused you are, how clear your head is. Okay. Making sure, you're doing everything you can to be, extremely confident. And then also, getting better as a lacrosse player. I've seen some of you posting videos, getting better in the backyard, working with your sisters or your brothers. Like, those are the little things that really, really are helpful and can never be taken away from you. And they really help you in your process, because not only will coaches recognize that and see it, all right, we will recognize and see that. And Coach Wink and I will feel very confident talking to a college coach about how good you could potentially be at the next level if we know how hard you're working to get better. All right, so development is the most important thing. Now, in the process, the next thing we want you to think about is making visits. You can start doing that now. As a freshman, you can visit schools and you can take campus tours and you could talk to players on the team whenever you want, right? As soon as these campuses open up and the virus goes away and whatnot, like, you can go start making visits. And once you make those visits, it's very important. All right, give me 1 sec. Let me get back to it. It's very important you talk about it with your family, so that way you can figure out along the way what you liked and didn't like about certain schools. Right? And that conversation you have with your parents is really, really important, because if you don't talk about the things you liked and didn't like, you're going to end up forgetting, the things that stand out to you along the way in your process. Right? Now, starting next fall, this is important in terms of your timeline. I'm going to start bugging everyone to start filling out what's called a recruiting profile. We use Sports Recruits. So some of you who have older brothers or sisters might have used it. And we drive all the recruiting stuff for you through Sports Recruits. And part of building a recruiting profile is just like, if you're building like your TikTok profile, you got a profile picture, you might post stuff. So in this case, you'd be posting your highlight video. You might post your grades. You might post your upcoming FLG schedule. All right. So just like you might post you dancing in your bedroom to some crazy Shania Twain song, which I'm not sure if any of you have done at this point, but if you have, that is an example of a post that probably wouldn't be appropriate for your recruiting profile, but would make sense for your TikTok profile. Cool. Moving on. All right. So your recruiting profile. Poda, when am I going to ask you to start filling that thing out?
Next year.
Good. Well, technically this year, but it's in the fall of your sophomore year. So it is your next school year. Okay. Good stuff. Steuven, what's an example of something that we're going to post on your recruiting profile to help fill it out?
Grades.
Good. Very important. Your grades steer this whole thing. So that's huge. All right. Davenport, give me something else besides your grades. What's important?
Highlight video.
Yes. Highlight video is big. All right. So picture this. All right, Millet, I got a question for you. This Frozen 2 comes out. Pretend like you've never seen Frozen 1 and you have no idea what movie it is. And it's, it could be the greatest movie in the world, but there's no movie trailer. And let's say you get like an email and it says like, hey, this movie came out, like it's really good, you should check it out. Are you more likely or less likely to watch that movie if there's no movie trailer?
Less likely.
All right, so let's compare that to recruiting. Millet, you send an email to a college coach and you say, hey coach, I'm really interested in your school. I'm awesome at lacrosse. Trust me. I'm really good. I got good grades. Come watch me play. You got no highlight video. Do you think that coach is most likely going to open your email, read it, and watch you play?
No.
Probably not, right? So very similar to what a trailer might do for a movie, your highlight video is doing for you in terms of just getting people to come watch you. And again, when you have a highlight video, girls, it's not saying like, I'm the best, come watch me. And it's not like a lot of the boys do where they're like, I'm sick, like look at me score goals, and they have music and all that stuff. Like, we're doing this because you have to promote yourself. It goes back to that. You also have to learn how to build relationships, and a big way to do that is through that highlight video. Also, a coach can recruit you any day of the year, anytime, by having a highlight video. Like, you can send an email tonight and you're a freshman, a coach can watch that video. They're allowed to do that. And that's going to really help you along the way. So hopefully this summer, we can play in some tournaments, and you can start buying film, because all the tournaments you go to usually have a videographer filming you, or you can have a parent do it, right? Your mom or dad can stay on the sideline and film games. It's a really good idea to start thinking about that, because college coaches, they really want to see highlight video. It's super important. So something to keep in our minds. All right. So I know we got hung up on the recruiting profile stuff, but that's big. And then the last step here is you got to just play, get better, play, talk. That means talk to coaches, college coaches, if they reach out to you, talk to your parents about, things you're interested in on and off the field. And that process is repetitive. It goes on and on. It's a loop. You play, you have conversations, you talk. All right. You talk to FLG, you talk to, Coach Lomo, you talk to maybe your high school coach. All right. You play again, and the process constantly goes on and on. And what's important on our next slide here, we have a calendar. You don't always have to be playing, and you don't always have to be talking. It's not something that needs to happen 365 days a year. So we don't want to make this your life. But again, if this is really important to you, playing lacrosse in college, you should follow our calendar, so that way you know what to do and when to do it, which is that first bullet point. You also know when's a good time to talk to us and lean on us, and maybe, when do you not need to. It's also good to understand when to reply to people and maybe send emails out, all right, along the way. So replying to everyone is very important to us, because you never know where that relationship's going to take you. And if you get an email that's kind of weird and you don't know if it's like automated, or you don't know what the deal is, like, that's something you forward over to me or Coach Wink, and we'll be like, all right, you don't have to worry about that email. Like, that's an automated email. It's not going to help you. Okay. And the last thing, which I'm going to repeat, is enjoying the process. That's really important too, because if you are like, oh my God, I got to do this like stupid recruiting homework that Corey gave me. Like, this guy is nonstop. He's texting me, like asking me to favorite schools and like add a highlight video. Like, this is awful. If you think that you're always supposed to be doing stuff and constantly are doing things, like, it's not going to be very enjoyable. But it will also be kind of like frustrating if, let's say, I ask you to do something and you drag your feet on it, because what happens in the recruiting process, if you don't have a highlight video, you kind of can't move on to that next stage. And if I ask you to favorite 20 schools and do a little bit of research and you don't do that, you can't move on to the next stage, because if you skip stages in the recruiting process, it's very hard to build. It's kind of like building a house without a foundation, right? Like, the foundation of your process is starting a recruiting profile, starting to look at some schools online and favorite them, building a highlight video. If you don't do those things, we'll end up emailing a school that's like totally a bad fit for you and like totally out there. And not to mention, you have no video. They're not even going to like look at you. So we're not only emailing schools that aren't good fits, we're emailing schools that probably won't even look at it or reply, because there's no foundation to what your process should be. So it's very important that you do all the little action items that I kind of bug you to do along the way, which are going to start in the fall, trust me. But if you do those things, it's going to be so much easier in the long run for you. You're going to be set up for success. The fact that all of you are on this webinar right now is like a great step in the right direction. Like, that makes me really happy. And if your teammates are not on the webinar, like, they should watch this video later, because again, like, these little things that we're talking about in this presentation are just making things a lot more enjoyable and easier, and more obtainable for you in a year or in 2 years from now. Okay. So does anyone have questions with that calendar there? Are we feeling okay with this? Is anyone stressed out by anything as it relates to like recruiting? Do you want to talk through some of that? No? Everyone's feeling pretty good. All right. That's good. There's
Feel
nothing,
really good.
no stress. We good over there, Coach Wink?
I feel really good. I'm very happy. I'm very happy.
I'm feeling confident. This is a good crew here.
Yeah. It's special for the kids.
I can't see Tadaro. She's making me a little nervous, and same thing with Nagel, but that's okay. Brooke's gone, and so is Gabby.
I can put it back on.
Oh, there's Nagel. Okay. You made us nervous. We couldn't see. I thought you were gonna like pop up out of nowhere behind me and just like put me in a headlock or something. Okay. All right. So let's talk do's and don'ts. This is my favorite. So when you sit down at dinner tonight, Millet, and your dad's like, "What did you guys talk about in that webinar?" It's like, "Well, Dad, you know that thing you've been doing? Like, you should stop doing that." Coach Corey said that's really annoying, and college coaches don't like that. I'm not saying your dad does that. He's a good man. But hypothetically speaking, there's some things that parents can help you with during this. There's some things that parents can like kind of hurt you. So let's talk about that. And then let's talk about things that you should do and shouldn't do. All right. So let's go quickly through your parents. Now, things that your parents can do to help you. Keep it real. If your parents telling you consistently that you're the best player in the world and you can go to any school and no one else is telling you that, then you got to like take a step back and be like, all right, Mom, Dad, are we being real about this? Like, am I actually the best in the world? Like, should I actually be going here? You're telling me I can get into Harvard, but like I took my PSAT and I got like 1,000. Like, you know, you need a really good score to get into Harvard. So make sure your parents are keeping it real with you. Your parents can look over your shoulder. That's not a bad thing. All right. There's a difference though between looking over your shoulder and doing things for you. All right. So your parents shouldn't be filling out your profile for you. That's something you should do. All right. Your parents shouldn't be, looking at your video and deciding which plays, you should be putting on your highlight video and which ones you shouldn't. That's something you guys can do together. So if your parents annoying you and they're over your shoulder, you have the right to tell them to stop doing that. But if they're doing it to try to like help you, that's cool. Like you guys can work together. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, on. If your parents should let you like try things and fail along the way. So if you're, for example, let's say you're going to a showcase, right? So Gabby's going to her first showcase. She's going up there. She's feeling good. And all of a sudden her parents in the car ride up say like, Gabby, don't use your left hand today. And Gabby's like, what are you talking about? Well, it's like, your right hand's much better than your left. Like, use your left. You might drop the ball, and a coach might say, I'm never recruiting her. And I don't think that's a great idea because, if you don't try to use your left hand in front of a college coach like now or in a year, when are you ever going to have the confidence to use your left hand, in a certain situation that might be a little bit more pressure-packed or have something on the line? So take risks, fail, drop the ball, sound really awkward on the phone if a coach wants to talk to you. If you don't do those things and maybe stumble or fail early on, you're never going to get good at them in the long run. So don't be afraid to don't think you have to paint this like perfect picture of yourself all the time. If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, right? You're gonna pick yourself back up. Coach Momo is gonna pick you back up. You always have us to lean on, and you're gonna be okay. So let your parents let you fail, and as a result, you'll be better along the way. Right on. All right. What else can your parents do to help you? Cover ground. That means go visit schools. Your parents can drive you, go visit places. Also, they can empower you to be like, hey, Hoda, let's do your lax recruits homework. I want you to get it done. Let's go. I want you to get this done and help yourself. Good in the future. Okay. A little staticky here. Can you guys hear me? Is that my computer? I'm gonna mute everyone and see if that works. Okay, that sounds a little better. All right, cool.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to talk, just unmute yourself. It's all good. All right, so we have a little less than 10 minutes. Let's talk about some to-dos for our players. Same thing, keep it real. Second, do your research. All right. So basically after you set up your profile, you put a little picture up there. One of the first things you do is search for schools on Sports Recruits. We'll have a whole nother lecture on how to do that. Super easy. It's really cool. You can even start searching schools now. One thing I love doing, go on Instagram, and pretty much every college girls program has their own Instagram account. Start following and getting a feel for some of the schools through Instagram. That's one of my favorite things to do to learn about a program. So that's something you can try as well. Another thing that you can do is always respond. If someone reaches out to you, always reply. That's something that can help you along the way. Gain experience. All right. The way you can gain experience by going to a showcase, maybe going to a prospect day, which means you go to a college and the coaches coach you up, you get to meet the players. Maybe you go on a road trip with your family, right? There's a lot of things that you can do to gain experience along the way. And then the last thing is lean on us. Like, don't think you're bothering me if you text me a question about recruiting or Coach Wink, or if you want to set up a phone call because your parents are annoying you and you want to get some advice, or let's say your parents and you have questions and you want to talk to us. Let's talk. So don't think that you're ever annoying us. Always think that you can lean on us. All right. So this is good for the dinner table. If your parents want to know what they shouldn't be doing in the recruiting process, first and foremost, speaking for you. College coaches hate when they ask you a question and the kid turns to their parent and the parent answers. Make sure that you stop that right now if that happens. You got to speak for yourself, because, again, if you don't do that, you're not going to grow and mature during this process. And college coaches are going to scratch you off their list if their parent is constantly speaking for you. So don't let that happen. Making contact. So, again, college coach sets up a phone call with you. If your parent is the one that calls the coach and your parent's on the line, that's going to be a big X off the list. So don't do that. If your parents are trying to live through you, I don't think we have that issue on our team. Also, a lot of times parents do this. They say like, oh, like my neighbor told me this or that. And sometimes what your neighbor says might be true or may not be. Don't always assume that that's the truth, right? If you hear something, like, you can take it with a grain of salt. And of course, if it's someone you're really close with and you're friends with and they're sharing an experience, that's cool. That's fine. But if you're constantly caught up with, let's say, hearing recruiting advice from your neighbor, or hearing about recruiting from someone who just like thinks they know it all down the street or in your school, don't always assume that that's gospel, right? That's why you got to lean on us, because just so you know, girls, literally in the last 2 weeks, I've spoken to over 15 women's college coaches. And every time I talk to a coach, I learn more and more. I speak to them directly. I ask them questions about recruiting. I ask them what type of players they want in their program. I ask, what do you look for in a recruit? I ask college coaches firsthand. So if you want to talk to a reliable source about these things, you got to lean on us, because we're talking to college coaches constantly. We're talking to our older FLG girls constantly, helping them through their process. So don't be so caught up in what everyone else says, especially when your parents, might have someone that says something. Acting up on the sidelines, that's not an issue for us. Players, don't over communicate. Don't send an email that has 15 paragraphs long. Don't email a school 15 times in a week. It's kind of like, you break up with your boyfriend or something and, he texts you 55 times in a day. Like, that's kind of a turnoff, right? We don't like that, right? McDonald, she's dumped like 15 guys already. She's like, they're all texting her like mad, crazy. She's like, this is ridiculous. I can't take all this. I'm just kidding. McDonald hasn't had 15 boyfriends, but you know what I mean? You don't want guys texting you consistently. That's not cool. All right. Don't do nothing, right, Neri? Don't just like after this turn on Tiger King and watch 8 episodes and binge watch. Go do something productive. All right. Expect and not deliver. So don't think that like Coach Wink is going to get you recruited and you don't have to do anything. That's a mistake. We work together. It's a team effort here. We got all work together. Don't be disrespectful. So a coach from Widener reaches out. You've never heard of the school, all right? Or the coach from Transylvania, which is like, it sounds like a Disney Pixar movie, reaches out. Don't be offended. It might be a great school. it might be a good fit for you. You never know. Respect that coaches are reaching out because that means they think you're a good player, and show respect by responding and taking everyone's word. I'm okay with listening to everybody and everyone. I'm a big listener, right? I know I'm talking a lot right now, but I do like to listen a lot, and you'll get to talk, and I'll hear you guys out a lot more as we move through this. But it doesn't mean that you have to listen to everybody and take it, like, hey, that's the 100% truth. It's very important that you understand, and start to decipher like what's good, helpful, realistic, constructive information, and what's just like, yeah, I don't know if they're just saying that to say that. All right. So since we have about 3 minutes left, let's talk real quick about communication. Division I schools cannot text you, email you, call you until September 1st of your junior year. So if you email a school that's D1 and they don't get back, don't be offended. They might send back a questionnaire or a prospect day invite. If you're interested in the school, fill out the questionnaire. All right. College coaches can, though. Division I can watch your film, and they can also coach you at a event. So don't think like if a coach is a D1 and you're at a prospect day this summer and they try to talk to you and coach you, that's not against the rules. It's all good. They're allowed to do that. Athletic scholarships, there's a maximum of 12 scholarships per team for Division I schools. And because lacrosse is an equivalency sport, that means that they break up their scholarships, and they're not just 12 full scholarships to 12 different girls. They could be broken up into percentages as small as, a couple, 5, 10%, or 75 to 100%. So that's what the equivalency means, and that's what the scholarships mean. That's for Division I. There's Division II also offers athletic scholarship, not as many, but they do offer scholarship. Division III schools for girls do not offer athletic scholarship. If you want to get money, it's usually through like a grant, or you can get money sometimes through academics, depending on the school. Now, Division II and III schools, girls can talk to you now, which is cool. So, this summer, if a D3 school emails you, you can reply back. You can set up a phone call. You can go on a visit. So the visit's unofficial, which means it's not paid for by the school, but you can also take advantage of that. So I'll give you an example. If the Tufts coach, which is a great little Division III school in the NESCAC, reaches out and they say, hey, you're a sophomore that we're tracking, come to our prospect day, or hey, let's talk on the phone, you can absolutely do that. All right. So it's important for you to understand that you can start having conversations now. All right. Now, since there's not a lot of athletic scholarship girls, a lot of parents ask, where's the money at? Like, how can you earn money to go to college? It's through your academics. So if there's one piece of advice that you might have gotten out of this presentation, it's to do your homework, because not only does that help you get into great schools, it actually helps you get money a lot of times at a lot of really good schools. So do your homework and take care of that, because that's gonna really help you in the long run. Right? Our thing's gonna cut out because we only get 40 minutes. So if someone has questions, I want you to, everyone right now, take my, actually, you know what? I'll post it in Sports U. Are you guys all on Sports U? I'll put my cell phone number in there. You can text me questions anytime, okay? So that's what that's for. Now let me unmute. Hold on one sec. Hopefully I don't lose you, because this thing's gonna get cut out. All right. I'm gonna stop my share.